All right, welcome everyone to this edition of the ngrok Developer Roundtable. I'm Scott McAllister, developer advocate here at ngrok. You may have noticed if you're in the live meeting that this is a little different than we had this morning. That's because we had some technical difficulties with recording the episode. And so we're going to go back and we're going to record it now in a proper way. So we're grateful to have Rachel Kolavo here with us. Rachel, you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi, I'm Rachel. I've been at ngrok for like 6 months, and I am located in Boulder, Colorado.
Been here 6 months, and she's already driving features like the traffic policy module. So what we're going to do today is we are going to talk through that feature. We want to let folks know of a couple of announcements that we have going on here at ngrok since our last roundtable. That's us. We're here. You can find me on the socials if you would like to continue the conversation. I'm at ST McAllister on Twitter and pretty much every other social platform. So you can find me there at that handle. And so the big announcement we have is the developer-defined API gateway. The ngrok API gateway offers a comprehensive set of features for traffic management and security, all powered by the ngrok platform. ngrok's API gateway builds on additional capabilities on top of the platform, including traffic routing, JWT authentication on authorization, rate limiting for ensuring fairness and preventing resource exhaustion, things that are hard to say, but flexibility with request and response manipulation, and all of this powered by our new traffic policy engine. Which leads me to the next announcement, which is the traffic policy module. This is something that allows a lot of different features to happen. The traffic policy module is currently in early access. It provides users with a flexibility and uniform approach to configuring and managing traffic across all ngrok platforms, whether it's the cloud, API, our SDKs, or in Kubernetes. So Rachel has been on the team that's been building that. She's been leading that effort in building the traffic policy module. And we're going to turn the time over to her, where she's going to show us how the traffic policy module works and then how you can use it in your ngrok account today. I should mention before she gets started that this is available in early access to all ngrok accounts, whether you have free or paid. This is available for you today. So please give it a try and let us know how it is. So Rachel, you want to give us the rundown of how this would work and when we'd use the different features?
Sure thing.
I'll switch over so I can get your stuff on the screen.
Okay. The traffic policy module, I've got the documentation up here on the right. And before I dive in, I'm just going to walk through the parts of what this policy looks like so you can understand what I'm doing when I start demonstrating it. So we've got an example of a policy configuration here. And what you'll see is we have an array of inbound and outbound rules. And then each rule is composed of a name, an array of expressions, which are written using the common expression language. It's a really readable way to define these things. And if
that's
you
like
want
an industry thing, right?
That's correct. Yeah.
Okay.
And if you want to learn more about what variables and functions are supported that we have, you can go to the expressions tab and you can see that we have all sorts of request variables, response variables, helper functions, whatever you want to help filter down your traffic, which is what the expressions do. So the expressions determine which traffic each rule will apply to. And then the actions is also an array of actions that will take effect if the expressions matched.
Nice.
So that should be the information you need to understand. We have all sorts of different ways that you can use this. You can plop it right in your agent configuration file underneath your tunnel. You can use SDKs. You can use the Kubernetes ingress controller. If you want, you can use it on an edge in the dashboard. Today, I'm going to use the CLI flag, which you just point to the path to your policy file. Before I do that, let me just walk you through a little application that I have here. It's just so, let's see, less than 100 line file. That's a .NET application that is really just capturing some requests that I make so we can see some details for the sake of demonstrating. For example, here's my first request. I'm going to just keep a cache of the most recent 10 requests here. Let me go ahead and start my ngrok endpoint. You can see here I have my localhost 7088, which is what my app is running on. I'm using the policy file flag and pointing to my traffic policy here. And I have a reserved domain just to keep my URL static. And let's get that started. Let me start walking through my traffic policy here. I just have these collapsed here for the sake of focusing, but we'll go one by one through these rules and demonstrate what I have here. So first up is a JOT authorization rule. My expression states here that this will apply to any post request that comes into my endpoint. My action type is the JOT validation, and I have ahead of time configured my app in Auth0 using a guide on our docs site. It took no time at all.
Nice.
It was very easy. And let me just go ahead and demonstrate here using Postman. Here I've got my URL that I'm going to make a post request against. I have my authorization bearer here. And when I hit send, I get a 200 OK
Nice.
response. If I leave off my authorization header, I get a 401 unauthorized response. So if we go back over here and refresh, we'll see my list again, v2 list endpoint again, because that's what I just refreshed. But you'll see I only get one post request here because ngrok is actually the one returning unauthorized. The unauthorized request is never making it to my application.
Yeah, ngrok essentially steps in the way and says, nope, this doesn't meet the traffic policy. And so it completely rejects it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so just like that, I have authentication built into my app. Took maybe 5 minutes to set up, which
Nice.
is pretty awesome. Next up, I have a rate limiting rule that I have a special route here for that is called limited. It's the only path that I want to rate limit in my application. I have some configuration here that says, how many requests are allowed in what time frame, and then a key that I've configured to determine what should be rate limited. You can reference our documentation to see what is available here for what you can configure as your key. But I'm going to go ahead and go to my limited path. Oh, you know what? I am still on localhost. Let me go over here.
Yeah, let's not use localhost.
Yeah, there we go.
There it is.
Let me go to my limited path. And I'm just going to refresh to kind of hammer against it until I start to see that I have indeed been rate limited and getting my 429 response.
Yeah.
And so now we have the ability to rate limit a page, rate limit an application just by configuring a policy
config
here.
entry, right? Just a
Yep.
single policy. It's just like, nope, we'll set it here, set the rate. Very nice.
Exactly. Up next, I have a rule called API route migration. I'm using the URL rewrite action here, and there's plenty of use cases for this. But my use case that I have for the purpose of this demo is, let's say I have an API endpoint that I'm migrating over to a new version. I'm going from V1 to V2, and my V2 endpoint optionally takes a query parameter that's a language, and I want to start trying it out. So I'm going to say anyone in the US, when they hit the V1 endpoints, this is a regex match and replace setup here from to to. We're going to match the V1, replace it with V2, and then append this language is US, English US at the end here as a query parameter. And so you can see I've been hitting V2 list here in my path. Let's go ahead and try hitting V1 list. And you'll see I did hit V1 list, but my application is processing it as V2 list with my query parameter attached.
Nice.
So just like that, I'm able to manipulate, reroute, all sorts of things just by rewriting the URL. It doesn't have to be query parameters. It doesn't have to be the path. You can change the scheme. Anything you can think you want to rewrite, we can support with regex here.
Very nice. Very nice. So you can keep people off that deprecated version of the API, right? So you can
exactly
direct traffic away permanently, but also could you do it temporarily too? Like if there was like an issue, maybe you could be like, wait, let's put a rewrite in there real quick to like fix a thing. I mean,
yeah, totally.
Yeah.
There's absolutely.
That's cool.
Okay, next up, I call this rule the deny bot rule. Let's say I have a bot that is wreaking havoc on my application and I want to prevent it from reaching it. I've got this expression here to filter down that says if there is a user agent request header that matches a value of bad bot, then go ahead and deny that request. So I'm going to pop over to Postman again, turn on my authorization, and then I'm going to add this user agent called badbot 2.0. It's getting stronger. And we'll see that I'm getting a 999 status code. And that is the default status code that we return for a deny, but we do optionally allow you to set a status code like 401, whatever you want it to be here. But by default, we will just return a 999 here.
Nice. And because you use the exist function there on that expression, it's able to pick out that it's bad bot. Doesn't matter what version of bad bot.
Right. So the matches is a cell common expression language function that actually does a regex match. I could have done contains and I could have done starts with. There's all sorts of options here within cell to kind of get exactly what you need.
Yeah. Okay.
And then let's see, up next, we have external calls not found is what I've got the name for this one to be. Let's say I want to just whitelist some certain IPs to allow access to my application and block everything else. Rather than do a deny response here, maybe I want to be a little bit more informative with my response. So I can add a body, I can add headers, I can specify a status code, all by using the custom response action. Here I'm saying if my client IP is not equal to my current IP, then I should use this custom response. I will go ahead and from my machine curl against my app and I get a 200. Now if I SSH to another machine and try again, I will get a 404. What you're looking for.
Nice.
And this content can be any type of content. It could be HTML, it could be JSON, it could be whatever you want to specify here.
And do you have to put an additional flag or additional property in there to make it JSON, or will it just pick up the fact that you have a JSON object sitting there and it knows to process that as a JSON object?
You can be specific and specify the header just like you want potentially. And like I have text plain here, right?
Right. Or if I don't JSON or whatever.
Right, exactly. Yeah. If you want to manually make sure that it is going to choose that content type, you can override it here, but it will be inferred based on the content that's specified here, what the content type is.
Got it. Nice.
Cool. And I'm going to move on to some outbound rules here. I have an add request ID header rule. Let's say you want to do some testing and correlate some things across like certain requests, what's happening. I have this expression here that says if the header X add request ID is true, then we're going to add a header to the response, because this is an outbound action, called ngrok request ID. And this is syntax for some variable interpolation. So this is the generated ngrok request ID that we generate for each request that comes in against an endpoint. And so if I want to test this, let me head over back to Postman. I have my X add request ID header set to true. And when I get a response, I have my ngrok request ID here, which is what I asked to be added with my configuration.
Cool. So you can add your own head. You can add additional headers essentially by Yeah, by configuring.
Exactly.
Very
And it
cool.
doesn't have to use the variable interpolation. You can just specify whatever value you want here. But we do offer quite a few variables that might be useful for something you might want to interpolate into this.
And they can find those in the docs, right?
Right.
Very cool.
And then last here, I have, let's say you want a custom error page to be a little bit more graceful in your rejections. I limited this to just get requests, and I'm looking for unsuccessful responses, so this is the response coming from my endpoint, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I have done another custom response action here. I'm overriding the status code. No matter what it came back, I'm going to say 418 instead, and I'm going to display this custom content here, which is my custom error page. So let me just go ahead and go to a route that doesn't exist. So we get a 404. Really, this is a 418 in my whoopsie daisy page that takes us right back to the home base here.
418 is my favorite HTTP status code.
Yeah.
Best. If you don't know what it is, you should look it up. 418.
For sure.
Actually, it is a joke, but it's really there.
Yeah, it really exists.
Yep.
Okay, and that's all I've got.
That's awesome. Thanks, Rachel. This is amazing how this can definitely take, it takes ngrok from being kind of developer environment focused and taking you to that next level, right? Where you start thinking about production, thinking about things with lots of traffic coming through, right? Because you have to manage that traffic in a lot more declarative sort of way, I think. And so that's definitely some great things that are coming down.
Yeah, it also centralizes where you want to put this configuration, so you can reuse it across different endpoints or different environments or whatever.
Yeah, for sure. Well, awesome. Well, thanks for joining us today. And thank you, Rachel, for demonstrating that. Hope you all will dig into your ngrok accounts and start using the traffic policy module. And we will see you all next time.